I meant to do that. That's what intentional means to me. Intentional means you have contemplated the facts, the factors, calculated the risks, come up with a method of implementation, acted on it, made your decision, made your choice, regardless if anybody else liked it or not. Because that's what self-governance is. You're in control of your direction, your momentum, working toward building the life that you want. If you're not intentional in all the areas of your life, that means somebody else has the reins. And I did that for too long. Not doing it anymore. I meant to do that. That's what intentional means to me. So I started Built with Intention. It came from a chapter I wrote for another writing project I was doing called Being Intentional. And I wrote the chapter, let it sit for a couple weeks, and I was out driving one day and it popped back into my head. And when I started digging into the concepts of living your life with intentionality, I realized that the reach, the application of living that way stretched far beyond the writing project I was working on. That it could apply to any man, regardless of political beliefs, religious beliefs, or upbringing, his sexuality, what kind of work that he does, whatever the case may be. And so I started thinking about all the different ways a man can live his life with intention. And all of my writing projects that I started working on about a year ago all came from what I call an identity rupture myself. And it forced me to take a long, hard look at my life, the direction it was heading, choices I had made or hadn't made. Like I talk about in the autonomy videos, I was farming a lot of my choices out to people around me instead of making my own and standing on them. So when I started digging into that whole concept of all the different ways a man can be intentional with his body, his time, his space, all of that, I realized that I wanted to dig into it more. And I realized as a middle-aged Gen X man and all the changes I was going through with myself personally, my beliefs and my approach to life and all the different areas of my life, that I'm probably not the only one. So I figured this would be a good way to share my story, my struggles, when I've run into things and how I dealt with them. And it all starts with reclaiming your autonomy and taking back control of your life. And once you do that and start steering your own course, following your own compass, I know I say all these things in the videos, but it's true. When you take back control of your own existence, your direction, things start changing. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I'm still working my way through it. Whenever I have a thought pop into my head, I try to share it. And I'm just hoping that this material resonates, speaks to other men, and maybe they can find some encouragement, inspiration out of it, and just have the life that they've always wanted, that they were built for, and be the person that they've always wanted to be. Because I think that's what we all want.
So that was a fun one. I was trying to come up with what I wanted to call the content. Intentional was used a lot in the early teaser bits that I was putting out. Built with Intention is about a man building his life, living intentionally while he does it. But I think the I period came about because intentional had a period. And there's something about I period that's declarative, a statement. The I period becomes self as an intentional point of origin. Not ego in the narcissistic sense or main character syndrome, but self authorship, having an internal center, a conscious identity, self governed existence. And to me, the period matters just as much as the I. It finishes the statement, it signals certainty, completion, grounding, no unnecessary explanation. I period is about centered self governance, the active self, not passive identity, but active identity. So I claim, I decide, I build, I rest, I lead. I, me, not anyone else. So the I period kind of became the icon because building your life with intention is about yourself. You taking back control. I meant to do that. I did that. I decide. So that's where the I period came about. Because all the stuff I was seeing online was dating advice, manhood and masculinity stuff, macho bro code, red pill BS, religious leaning, how to be a better dad or husband. There wasn't anything I could find that said, hey, are you unhappy, unfulfilled? Start by looking here. This is how you fix that. Stop letting other people dictate your feelings, your choices, your directions, your life. I feel like this is more grounded, more real. That's part of the reason I'm sharing my story for some of these topics, is so other men can relate to it. Because there's all that, Viking cosplay, aggression, all the things that they say manhood and masculinity and what being an adult male looks like. And I think it's deeper than that. I think there are things you can literally do in all the different areas of your life that make you more fulfilled, that make you feel better about your life, where it's headed, and how you want to live it out, and the things you want to do, and how you want to connect with people. So that was my focus on it. Sorry, it's been hot today. I talk about autonomy a lot because it's kind of the starting point, the foundation. A man who wants to build a life of his own, the life that he wants, can't begin to do that or be successful in achieving that if someone else is governing his life, making decisions for him, or if he's allowing external input and influence to override his wants, his dreams, what he's looking for at every turn. I think a lot of men struggle with that, especially those that are in relationships or have families at home. We tend to try to accommodate and compromise, and it becomes a pattern that ends up costing us our identity, our autonomy. And so, yeah, that's why I speak of autonomy so much. It's essential if you want to build your life with intention. I think I noticed that things really needed to change when somebody asked me, why don't we get this version of you at home? When we were out on a trip. And I realized that I was constantly angry. I didn't like my job and wasn't feeling fulfilled. And for a few years prior to that, found myself reverting to a time in my life when I dressed different, I thought different, lived very differently. And it was the last time in my life that I could remember feeling in control, like I was my most authentic self. And I had allowed life, relationships, cultural expectations, social media pressure. I just allowed a lot of things in my life to have more control over me than a man who wants to be genuine and authentic should have. And I decided one day I'd had enough. After several years of hunting down boots and stripping my closet of clothes that didn't fit the image of who I saw myself as, it just kind of steamrolled. And it's been a very trying process figuring myself out, but it's been one of the most liberating things I have ever experienced. And I want every man to be able to feel true to himself. When I meet somebody, I want to make a genuine connection with them and get to know the real person that's inside, not the one that's performing for everybody around them and trying to be something that they're not. When the realization of all that came crashing down on me, it was a lot to process. I've gone through a lot of it. I'm still going through it. I am trying to follow my own inner compass and become the most genuine version of myself that I can. And I've never been happier. I feel free. I feel like I have a purpose, I have a direction, and I just want to share it with everyone. I want everyone to feel and live the same way. It's probably overreaching, it's probably too high of an expectation, but I just want people to keep sharing their stories and letting me know how they're doing, if any of the stuff is speaking to them, and share it with their friends too. If they're getting some help out of it, I hope somebody else can too. That's all I want. That's what I want my legacy to be, is me sharing my story, my experiences, and if they help somebody else have a better life, I'm all for it.